Welcome students. In today's class we are going to learn further about Python functions. This is part 2. Part 1 we have already dealt in the previous video. I guess you children have watched it and I want you to go through part 1 and then see part 2. Now again I repeat and I start from the beginning. Whatever I have dealt in the first video, I want to explain what are functions. Functions are building blocks of code that are designed to do a specific job. And functions are nothing but a group of related statements that perform a specific task. Suppose you want to perform a task many times in a program at different places. You need not repeat the task or need not code the task at different places. You just write the code once and reuse this code at different places. And when you write the code once, you give a name to it and you call them with the name. And those are called functions which can be used at different places in a program. It is easy to write functional programs because they are easy to read, to test and to fix errors. Now we are going to deal with what are the different types of functions in Python. Python functions are classified into 4 different types. They are user-defined functions, built-in functions, lambda function and recursive function. This we've already seen in the previous video what user-defined function is. This user-defined function is again further divided into 4 different types. They are required argument function, keyword argument function, default argument function and variable length argument function. So in this video we're going to learn further about the other types of functions like built-in functions, lambda functions and recursive functions. Now talking about lambda functions, another name for lambda function is an anonymous function. All of you know the meaning of the word anonymous. Sometimes we use this word anonymous related to anonymous calls which we get, and we call them as unknown calls or some free calls which we get occasionally. And so these lambda functions are defined with the keyword called lambda, and instead of using the keyword def we use this keyword lambda. And these anonymous functions are also called as unknown functions or no name functions because it doesn't have any particular name. And if you see, these anonymous functions are very small and they can be used anywhere in a program, but they are always used in combination with other functions like filter, map and reduce. Truly speaking, this filter, map and reduce are 3 functions which are beyond the scope of your textbook, so I'm not going to deal much about filter, map and reduce, but remember that these functions are in combination with the lambda function, and there are certain rules that you have to follow when you use a lambda function in a program. Lambda function can take any number of arguments, but it should return one value back to the calling statement in form of an expression. And remember that this lambda function can only access global variables and variables in its parameter list. These are 2 important rules that you should remember, and they are slightly different from the normal functions. If you look at the screen, you can see the syntax of lambda functions is as follows: the keyword lambda followed by the argument list, and all these argument lists are separated with a comma, colon, expression, and this expression has to return one value back to the calling statement. In the next slide, I'm going to teach you an example of a lambda function. If you look at this example, you can understand that sum is equal to lambda argument 1 comma argument 2 comma argument 3 colon argument 1 plus argument 2. You know what happens in this case? You have used 3 arguments there, argument 1, two arguments, argument 1 and argument 2, and you're passing values such as 30 and 40 for the first print statement, minus 30 and 40 for the second print statement. So when this lambda function is executed, first time it adds argument 1 plus argument 2, so 30 plus 40, and it prints the sum as 70. For the second print statement, it adds minus 30 plus 40 and prints the sum as 10. If you look at this program, you can clearly understand they are small programs which are written with the keyword as lambda. The next that you're going to see here on screen is return statements in a function subprogram. All of you know that in a function subprogram, the last statement is the return statement, and this return statement helps you to exit out of the function subprogram to the calling statement. So very clear that these return statements are used to indicate the end of your function subprogram. Always this return statement has to return back a value back to the calling statement, or it has to return an expression back to the calling statement. But there are times when this return statement doesn't return any value back to the calling statement. Then we call this return statement as a none statement. And remember that when it doesn't return any value, it just prints the output as none. But any number of return statements you can have in a function subprogram, but remember that only one of the return statement will be executed, not all of them, during runtime. And remember that when there is no expression or no value which is passed to the calling statement, then the output of this function subprogram will return none as the object. Right, now look at this example that I'm going to see on screen. If you see this example, the first statement there is a comment line statement. I've used a hash symbol that is used for a comment line. Then comes the definition of the function subprogram. DEF is the keyword, def is the keyword that we use, followed by the name of the function, followed by the parameter list. Sample is the name of the function, and the parameter that I've used here is n. So now what happens in this case is, if you come further down, there's another hash statement there which says now invoking the function. It's only here we are going to invoke the function. You're going to enter a number through keyboard, and all of you know that the number that you enter in through a keyboard is a string type of data. You convert that number, string number, into a numeric value using int function and store it under x. The next line says print sample x. So in that print statement, you are going to call the function sample. So this becomes the calling statement. So control is transferred from the print statement to the def statement, which is your function definition statement. So if the value that you pass is greater than or equal to 0, you return n. Otherwise, you return, there are two return statements given there, but remember that only one of the return statement will be executed and not both of them. So if you input the first value to be 25, it will return the value 25. If you input the value to be minus 14, which is a value less than 0, then the second return statement is executed and minus 14 will be printed out. You can clearly understand this program. Just go through it slowly. You will know that two return statements are used, but only one of them are executed, not both of them at a time. So this is a typical example of a return statement used in a function subprogram, which is returning a value back to the calling statement. But if it doesn't return any value back to the calling statement, then it prints none as the output, because it is not returning any value back to the calling statement. Now I'm going to talk about a concept called scope of a variable. Now what is the meaning of this word scope? Scope means the accessibility of a variable in a program. How far can you access the variable? How much can you access the variable? And where all you can access the variable? That is what is called a scope of a variable. We've used this word scope in our day-to-day life. What is the scope of learning the subject biology? When you take biology, you can either become a doctor or a nurse or some medical profession you can go into. If you take the subject computer science, you can become a computer programmer, system analyst, system designer, and there are various scope which is available in the field of computer science. So scope means where you can use this variable in a program, how far you can use the variable in the program. That is called a scope. There are two major types of scopes in Python. They are local scope variables and global scope variables. As the very word sounds, you will know that local scope variables are those variables which are within the function. When you declare a function and when you use a block of code in a function, you may use a lot of variables within that function, and those variables are called as local variables, and these local variables exist while the function is executing. Once a function is executed, these local variables cease to exist from the function. the rules for different rules for local variables are, these local variables can be accessed only within the function where it is created. You cannot access them from outside the block of declaration. We cannot access them from outside the function declaration. A local variable will exist as long as the function is being executed, but once the function stops executing, then this local variable will cease to exist. It doesn't exist anymore. And remember, the formal arguments are also local arguments in the function. These are the different rules for local variables. Now look at these examples. I've given two examples on screen. The one on the left hand side is to create a local variable. This is just creating a local variable inside a function called LOC. If you see def LOC followed by the parenthesis, that's the function definition statement. The name of the function is LOC. And y is equal to 0. You have declared a variable y inside the function LOC, so this variable y becomes a local scope variable. So you can access this variable only within the block of declaration. So you can print them out within the block. You cannot access them from outside the block of declaration. Now the example on the right hand side of the screen, you can see how a local scope variable is accessed from outside the block of declaration. If you see, you have declared the same function LOC. You have given y is equal to local within the function, but if you see where your print statement is coming, it is coming outside the function subprogram. So what happens? We cannot access this local variable outside the function, outside the block of declaration. That is why it is throwing up an error on screen. So we cannot access them outside. We can only access them from within the function. That is why the second program gives an error on screen. Now we'll look at the next example. About global scope variables. Now, global scope variables are those variables which are declared anywhere outside the function subprogram, and they have a wider scope. They can be globally accessed. They can be used anywhere in the program. From any part of the program, you can access them. They have no restriction at all because they are declared outside the function and they don't belong to any particular function. And those variables that are declared outside the function are global variables, and by default they are global variables. So if you don't declare them as global, by default they'll be called as global variables. And these global variables have a wider scope and they can be accessed from any part of the program. And without the keyword global, we cannot modify the global variable inside the function, but you can only access the global variable and not, we cannot modify them. If you don't use the keyword global, we cannot modify the global variable inside the function definition. The rules for global variables are as follows. See, when you define a variable outside the function, by default they are global, so we need not use the keyword global. That is the first point. The second rule is this global keyword, you can use them and read them inside the function provided we use the keyword global. If you don't use the global keyword, we cannot use that variable inside the function. And this global keyword outside a function has no effect at all, because we know any variable outside the function, if it is declared, doesn't belong to any function, it has no effect at all, and we call them as global variables even without declaring them as global. Now look at this example of global variable. There are two examples on screen. The one on the left hand side is how to access a global variable from inside a function. Okay, c is equal to 1 is a global variable. Add is a function that you have defined. Print c you have given inside the function, and you're going to call the function add. When you call the function add, the function is evaluated and you get the output as 1. The next program on screen on the right hand side is modifying global variables from inside the function. If you look at the screen, you will see the function name is add. C is equal to 1 is a global variable that you have declared outside the function, and inside the function we're going to increment the value of c by 2. Now what happens in this case? what happens in this case, this incrementation doesn't take place because you have not used the keyword global. You want to alter the value of the global variable inside the function, which is not possible. If you use the keyword global, then you can alter the value of C. But since you have not used the keyword global there, it throws up an error on screen, and we cannot modify a global variable from inside the function without using the keyword global. Now, how do you change the global variable from inside a function using global keyword? I told you, if you have a global variable, and if you want to use it inside the function, you want to change the global variable inside the function, you can do so if you use this keyword global. Now look at this example on screen. You will see that x is equal to 0 is the value that you have assigned for x, and it is a global variable. In the next line, you're going to define the function add, and inside the function add, you're going to use the keyword global. So this is accepted because you have declared the variable as global, and you're incrementing the value of the global variable by 5. So what happens? 0 plus 5 will be 5. So you want to print the value of x, you can print it because you've already used the keyword global there. Outside the function, you're going to print the value of the main value of x. Again, the value of global variable is printed out outside the function, and it will also be 5 because you have made an alteration in the global variable. So the alteration will be carried through the outside the function also because you have used the keyword global. So remember that whenever you want to alter the global variable, you must use this keyword global inside the function. Then it will not throw up an error and there will be no problem in using it. So this is a typical example of a global variable used inside a function. Now using global and local variables in the same code. Now look at this program again. X is equal to 8 is declared outside the function LOC, that is the global variable. Inside the function, we're using the global keyword global x, and y is equal to 40, x is equal to x into 2. So what happens in this case? 8 into 2 will be 16. So when I say print x, 16 value is printed out, and the value of y that you have declared here is 40, and 40 will be printed out. So here you're using global and local variables in the same code. This is possible because we used the keyword global there. In the next slide, we are going to see how we are going to use local and global variable with the same name. Previous slide, we saw how we are using local and global variables in the same code. Now we are going to see local and global variable with the same name. Now look at that program here. X is equal to 5 and the function name is LOC. See, now x is equal to 5 is declared outside the function, so it becomes a global variable. Within the function, you're using another x. And what is the other x that you're using? That becomes a local variable. So when I say print local x, 10 will be printed out because that is the local value of x, and that's a local variable. Outside the function, you're going to print the global variable, and the value of the global variable is 5. So if you use the same name, what happens in this case? The variable declared inside the function becomes a local variable, and the variable declared outside the function becomes a global variable. So there will be no problem in mixing up the variables because one that is inside the function is local variable, one that is outside the function is a global variable. So this is a typical example of global variables and local variables. With this, I am ending this video. This is part 2 of Python functions. You have to go through part 1 video, part 2 video, and there's one more video, part 3, that is coming up. View all the 3 together to understand this chapter 6 on Python functions. Thank you for watching, students.